All right, I just hit the button.
A full button?
Mm-hmm. A full button.
Oh, damn.
I'm about to hit it. Okay.
Oh, I already hit it.
Okay. I meant to say I'm about to hit it.
Well, you didn't, so think about that next time.
My stream is starting. Give it a minute. We might have an audience for once.
Wow. Oh, look at this guy.
Yep. I just want to make sure my recording is okay. I don't know what's going on with the audio, but hopefully it's okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're going to get started in just a second. Just let me know if I sound okay and if Corey sounds okay. Corey's the other nerd.
Yeah.
The skinny nerd.
Okay. Well,
I'm the thick nerd. He's the skinny nerd.
not even that skinny anymore. Need to lose another 10 pounds.
At least. I was actually looking at some of our old streams. And I was like, wow, Corey was gaunt. Like, he was gaunt.
Yeah. I need to get back to that. Need to be able to fit sideways through a barely cracked door.
You've been like frustrated playing like Zelda, or like I've been playing through Dark Forces, and there's like all these gates that you could ordinarily get through, but you just can't right now.
No. Yeah.
All right.
Got to go into the Temple of Time for weight loss.
Temple of Time. Okay, guys. So just for the for those who don't ordinarily watch these streams, we're recording. Oh man, my voice is going. We're recording. Fucking. You think RFK ever tried that? Just
this one.
You think he ever tried to do that? Like get the frog out? Yeah. So we're recording an episode of our podcast, TapCaf Transmissions, which I've linked in the description. So. It is somewhat interactive. It's not going to be like full question answer, but at the end we take questions. Usually, if you've got donations, we take questions. But yeah, the longer we go, the more RFK like I think I will be getting. And I had a cat named RFK.
You had a cat named RFK?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Did it have worms?
No, it didn't. It had a few.
Okay, well.
Yeah, it was for real. Effing kitty. Anyway, start the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of TapCaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast watching a little niche art house show called Star Wars Andor. Today, we'll be discussing the third and also second to last ever arc of Andor, where we had Gormans massacred, hearts broken, Imperial twinks destroyed. And I'm not talking about, for once, my lovely co-host, Corey. How are you doing today, Corey?
I'm not an Imperial.
Otherwise.
I mean, other than that, I'm fine. Yeah. But, so a lot of good Andor out there. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of sad that there's only 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
But it's been really good so far. So this, I think, is my favorite of any arc between both seasons.
Yeah, I think it's got to be up there for me, too. Before we get into that, because we've got lots to discuss, is there any other Star Wars news? Have you yet watched Tales from the Underworld?
I have watched Tales from the Underworld. I thought it was fine, but I don't know. Nothing that really jumped out at me as like groundbreaking. I think of the 3 we've had so far, it's probably my least favorite. I did enjoy the Ventress stuff, but I'm just not a huge Cad Bane guy, so maybe that's why it didn't do anything for me. Just made me like him less. Yeah,
Cad Bane, I mean, we've talked about this before, but I was not a huge Clone Wars guy when it came out. I wasn't a Clone Wars guy at all. I thought it was, for kids. So I've obviously gained an appreciation for it now, and I've really liked Rebels, which is arguably even more kid-like. But yeah, I hate to say, I just got no interest in Tales from the Underworld. I wish I did, but the only way they were going to get me is if they called that kid Cornhorn, which was I mean, I knew in my heart it wasn't true, but I kind of hoped it was.
Yeah, like I liked the Barriss stuff. Like I really enjoyed the Barriss parts of Tales of the Empire.
Mm-hmm. The Dooku one for Tales of the Jedi was good.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't like Cad Bane, and I didn't feel like the arc we got there was something I was particularly interested in. It was cool seeing they basically just did the last scene of Dark Disciple in the episode when they were showing
I
us
did
how
watch that.
Ventress came back. So that question is answered. It's not just like assumptions you have to make about how she came back. They just fully showed the scene and then showed what happens when a Night Sister dies. They all go to the loading lobby and decide if they want to respawn or not.
Yeah,
as long as they
hop
love
on the
someone.
battle bus if they want to.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we also did get those two episodes premiered, the two episodes premiered in Fortnite, and Fortnite right now does have a Star Wars event going on, which I think we're going to play tomorrow on the stream. I played one game, came in a close third place, but I just my old dusty reflexes can't quite handle the zoomers.
There's something really funny to me about the fact that like the two Star Wars things we're getting right now are Andor and Emperor Palpatine deploying from the battle bus with the fucking machine gun.
There's two dogs inside me. The genocide discussing dog and the thank the bus driver dog. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm in some of the Fortnite subreddits, like just the regular one, and from what I've seen, like not just Star Wars fans, but Fortnite fans really, really like it, and are petitioning for it to become a full-time game mode. So that would be cool. I think people don't realize it doesn't really work like that. I'm surely there's like some pretty strict timelines and stuff in the contracts, but yeah. So we got that.
Even just from the game side, they have to be careful about splitting their player base too much. So if they're going to make something a permanent game mode, they have to be sure it's going to be healthy for the overall
for sure
player ecosystem. So it's a problem that like League of Legends runs into as well. But yeah,
Fortnite it actually shows the population in each playlist, which kind of a confident move. Like when I was playing, because right now it's just like the ordinary no build. It had like I think 280,000 people in it in just that game mode. So, but you're right. If you do too much, you get the Halo Infinite effect. Otherwise, we did get our first post Rise of Skywalker book announced. It is a young reader novel. It'll be starring Finn and Janna. It's called The Last Order. So we've got the First Order, the Final Order, and also the Last Order. So
it's kind of interesting that like the first thing we're getting in kind of the post prequel timeline is going to be a young reader novel. So I wonder if there is stuff that they know from the movies that was communicated to the author.
I don't think so.
To make sure. No.
Like it seems like it's going to be a very compartmentalized, perhaps literally novel where they're going to be on a spaceship rescuing captives. So, I mean, maybe, but I feel like they probably don't know very much about what to me, this is going to be kind of their version of the Truce of Akura, where like it might take place literally the day after.
5 minutes after. Yeah, it is promising, I guess, that we're going to start getting some other stuff in this like sequel to post-sequel era. Like we're definitely getting that with the movies, so we'll probably see a big flood of that kind of stuff. Maybe even the next animated series after Maul.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. Obviously, Resistance was a thing, but not really, and it was not post-sequel, but
it was
pre-sequel,
mid-sequel.
Yeah, mid-sequel. Yeah. So, other than that, there's also some Star Wars content coming to Destiny. I don't play that game at all, so it's kind of above me. But obviously, the big news has been Star Wars Andor Season 2 episodes 7 through 9. We all kind of knew. I think one of the best parts about Andor is, for one, you can't spoil it, really. You could say certain character dies, and I guess that would affect the viewing. But, like, we all knew going into Episode 8 the Gorman massacre was about to happen, but it still ended up being very, very, very impactful. And even, like, in the Andor Declassified episode last week, they mentioned, it's coming next week, so prepare yourself. Plus, you could check based on just the general timeline. So to me, that's kind of the shows just how masterful the show is, that it's doing all that. We know what's about to happen, and it's still so good.
Yeah, really just taking that page out of the Revenge of the Sith book.
Yeah.
Know all the plot coming. I am curious what next week is going to be. So before we talk about the episode, do you think there's any chance of the last part of episode 12 being a kind of postscript to A New Hope and Rogue One, showing like Mon Mothma or any of the other characters who we know survive or who happen to survive the next 3 episodes, and their reaction, either Cassian's death or the Death Star? Because like Mon Mothma was not a character until basically Revenge of the Sith. Like, you get a little of her at the end of the original trilogy, but no one really cared that much about what she was up to. Yeah. And this is probably the biggest chance to see what her frame of mind might have been.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I remember hearing Tony Gilroy say so many times that you'll be able to go right from episode 12 into Rogue One, and that they envisioned putting a movie together, but he may not have been literal about it. So yeah, I think that's possible, and there will be characters, like, people are going to die next episode, but they're not going to kill everybody unless something really terrible happens.
I'm starting to think Bix probably lives. I think she's probably out of the show now.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope so, but
yeah,
like, that's a sad ass ending for her and for Cassian.
Yeah. Especially if she's watching the live feeds from Jeddah or from Scarif.
You mean probably from like space? Caroline Levitt.
Yeah.
These.
Well, they're seeing Jin and Cassian. Like, wait, what's going on here?
Holding hands? They didn't kiss, did they?
It's ambiguous.
I do remember that being one of the major points of discussion, and they clearly. I was watching a video from a channel called Jessie Gender, and she was saying that, like, at certain points there was like a different idea for whether they would, like, the degree to which the end scene would have romantic flair, and obviously they ended up going with there really isn't one. Like, you can see it if you want, but really there's not. And I'm thankful, because that ended up giving us a lot of story with Bix and Cassian, because it would have been weird if, you know, he moved on that quickly when his girl's not even dead or anything. She's just on the down low somewhere.
Yeah, waiting for episode 6 to happen.
Yeah.
But we have basically the main plot now is Mon Mothma leaving the Senate and the Gorman massacre happening, and also the end of Cassian and Bix as a couple right now. What was your preferred couple name for them? Were you a Bassian or a Cassix person?
Definitely Cassix, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I've totally heard that before just now as well.
Yeah. No, this is I'm sure this is a big discussion that happens elsewhere. They have to have a ship name, I assume.
Yeah. So episode 7, the time jump is very apparent in this one. We miss their entire battle with Exar Kun to pacify the Sith spirits, which are occupying Yavin. The Masasi spirits
3.
as well.
When they agree to do season 3, that's what it's going to be.
So, first of all, I just want to say, everywhere he goes, Cassian gets a sick crib.
Is it just Cassian that got his own little apartment like that?
No, I don't.
Is everyone else stuck in the temple?
No, because
and then Cassian's got his own.
When he goes to see the healer, it kind of seems like there's more huts around there.
That looked like a festival they had set up outside the temple, though.
I saw it more like a town square.
Okay.
Yeah, what are they going to celebrate? No one there showers. It's got to stink. It's like so humid on Yavin. I can just tell, just looking at it.
Yeah, so why would you shower at that point?
Yeah, I suppose.
I guess they have the Santa steams, though. It's not really... You're not getting wetter.
Yeah, and there's even another one that's like... There's like a Sonic one, too, I think.
The Sonic shower, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something else on Tumblr.
Yeah, Sonic shower. That's like... That was what I relied on in high school. Just get stinky enough, people start yelling at you. And the stink just flies away. I don't know. Like I'm just trying to think back to episode 7, and I don't remember that much. Not because it was a bad episode, just because
so much happened in 8.
Yeah, and this show does such a good job of just like an overwhelming sense of dread.
Yeah,
and like I've never been so stressed out watching Star Wars. It's never felt like deaths actually matter as much as they did in this one.
It just feels so empty. Like I just feel completely empty while watching it. Not in a bad way that I like, oh, I don't care what's going on, but just in a, it's all very heavy. It's all like I was gonna work afterwards after watching the episodes, but it was just like, I need to go for a walk or something.
Yeah, it was like, it was like gross in a way. Like,
Yeah.
you see, I don't know, that one, to me it's personified by that one Imperial, the one with the scar on his face, just like such an evil looking bastard.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. Like, people die in Star Wars, but like this was more like real people in a Star Wars setting, and I think part of that is the fact that it wasn't there was a bit of it with the droids, but it wasn't like a fantastical massacre. It wasn't Darth Vader with lightsabers. It was like this is a thing that kind of happens in our real world, not with blasters, but people get gunned down by governments in the square. And like for this in particular, there's just there's like a sense of it started and there's nothing that can be done to prevent it. And like all these people are going to be thrown into a meat grinder, and it's just horrible. Like it is just horrible. And like the most emotional moment for me, I think, was when they started singing, because it's like kind of a last bit of dignity for these people who are just about to be fucking wiped out.
Yeah, like I think that is what Andor does so well, of just dealing with how people are feeling about things as they're happening. Mm-hmm. And it's not just like trying to get between events, it's taking one event and really exploring how everyone there feels about what's going on. Not just the people in the crowd, but also what Syril's thinking at that moment as kind of our antagonist, but like the antagonist we have access to.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of that, whereas kind of the comparison in A New Hope would be you have Alderaan blowing up. Leia is like kind of sad about that in the moment, but it doesn't really impact her long term throughout the movie. Yeah. Like 10 minutes later in the movie, she's consoling Luke for the 3 seconds he's sad about Obi-Wan dying.
Your fake uncle, or not your uncle, but your mentor you've known for a week just died.
Yeah. Which is, again, I messaged you about this, but my suggestion now is that they should just say Bail's not dead. No one sees a body. Leia's not upset about it. So Ahsoka season 2, Bail is just going to walk in with a bag of milk and a pack of smokes
from the world between
worlds. Miss anything?
Yeah. Don't give Dave ideas. I mean, I love Ahsoka. I'm not going to pretend I don't. Or at least really, really like it. But yeah, there was something about this episode, like, I mean, there was a similar thing that happened with Marva's speech. Like, what the show does so good is capture, like, rising energy. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there's a sense of energy and there's also a sense of, like, inevitability, where you know what's going to happen. Syril is figuring it out, and he's rightly horrified. The resistance leaders are a mix of like between resignation and realization, and also some of them are still in denial as well. And one thing that was interesting, which I think you were kind of getting at, is seeing how these things actually play out. Because it's one thing for, you know, a Moff Tarkin or a Krennic or a Partagaz to say, okay, we've got to ferment an uprising and we're going to put it down. It's another to see. One thing that I thought was like that made me feel sick to my stomach was seeing the troopers come in, the green troopers, when they arrived like 2 days earlier, because it was like immediately obvious what they were going to do. They were going to throw them out to the wolves, because not only are these young troopers probably trigger happy, but then once they're killed, Space Fox News and Jesse Space Waters can say, oh, they killed our young, brave troops, 21 years old, just out of the Imperial Academy on Karita. These evil Gormans slaughtered them.
Yeah. And it's something they've been setting up for years. Like we've heard the talk about it. Yeah. We know that they've been taking this angle of like, we need to push them just enough that we can say, oh, look at what the Gormans are doing now. And Syril has become part of that and doesn't seem to somehow understand. Like what I don't get about it is what Syril thinks the end game might be, because it's very different being confronted with the reality of like the people that he's like infiltrated. There's his mental image of like, oh, I can help the Empire by doing this against their enemies. But then once he's in that situation, like,
yeah, I mean, he thinks he's
actually betraying
setting up a honeypot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll have lots to say about Syril as well, because he's got to be my favorite character of the show. You know, it helps that the actor is so good. We talked about this since the first arc of season 1. Before we get to that, though, I did want to talk a bit more about the actual genocide or the massacre, because it was I don't know, like, it was a lot darker. I can't even really put into words what it felt like to watch it, because I didn't really suspect that I would be emotionally affected by it, because it is just Star Wars, it's just blasters. We all knew it was coming, but there was something that just they did such a good job with it.
Well, so often we see these kinds of battles or this kind of violence in Star Wars where it's guys in one uniform fighting the guys in the other uniform, where like you might know their names. It's like, oh, Jack Porkins is this guy in this X-Wing, but all we know of him is that he's that guy in that X-Wing. Yeah. And like, sure, there's a passing moment of sadness that something happens there. But with this, you're seeing how, like you were saying before, how it's all built up. Like, you know what the aims of these people in the protest are. You know the fears they have about it escalating this way. You know that like some of them are already pushed to the point where they want it to, where they feel like they need to take some kind of action. But then you have Rylands, I think his name is, that is like saying, oh no, we have to do the silent resistance, quiet protest, or like just keep it to regular protest so that everyone knows what's going on here. And you have the Empire that's also looking to escalate these things. But in doing that, they still have to have these individuals that are involved and that are actually executing that. And there's the varying levels of complicity in what's going on. And yeah, so that ultimately comes at the cost of these people who are much more real as characters than in a lot of other situations.
Yeah, one thing that they handled really well, and I do want to get back to that in a second, but one thing they also handled really well is the idea of like manufacturing consent. Like, they're lying about Gorman. Like, they keep saying that Gormans have incompatible values, or they're rejecting Imperial values, and like, that's not really very far off from language we hear a lot in our real world. And it's pretty clear to see where it can end up. And it was just, it's dark shit, especially combined with what Mon Mothma says. But it's also the fact that, and we got this a bit during the last episode of season 1, but just they did not pull punch. Like, Star Wars doesn't have blood, really, so that saves it a bit. But like, they were showing citizens close up being shot, close range. Like, the stormtrooper, I don't think stormtroopers ever looked more menacing than walking down those stairs, gunning people down.
Yeah, and like, even the KX series droids that are like, they've always looked kind of comical to me, but like, they are just absolutely brutalizing people, and it's something that like I think we all can relate to because of Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order.
They kicked our ass many times.
No one was dodge rolling at the right time, but like a lot of these citizens weren't. Yeah, these citizens weren't trained to dodge roll or stun lock. Yeah, so the parrying just wasn't there.
I had another thought, but the whole sequence, very, very well done. Obviously, another thing that I thought added a lot to it, aside like just the use of sound. I mentioned the moving from the kind of general anti-Imperial chant to the more of their traditional Gorman chant, but also the TIE fighters flying above. They did that a bit in season 1 too, during the Aldhani arc, where they got buzzed by TIE fighters a couple times, and you're like, okay, wow, this isn't just some dinky ship that Luke Skywalker blasts 6 of. When those TIE fighters do like the low pass over the courtyard, like, that's terrifying. And I think that's kind of what the episode captures so well, is just like the terror of the like fascist regime. They are more powerful than you. They have their big bad guy is standing behind a glass wall behind, like, he can do what he wants with you. That is ultimately like what's I think is most terrifying. He can do what he wants to. They can do what they want. As things get worse, they don't even have to pretend. That's one thing the Gorman Center says, like, it's insulting. Like, we don't even have to pretend it's real. They're treating people like animals, essentially.
Yeah, and like they have like the thinnest cover story, and it's enough to pacify or to placate the people who just don't care enough to ask beyond that, or who are predisposed to just either. And normally it would be like disliking aliens and the prejudices of the setting, but here it's more just
there's just
accepting
a lot
what the
going
Empire
on
says
well.
about
there's a lot going on.
But as far as like the TIE fighters go, they make such a big deal out of people having or not having weapons as small as blasters. And we see this on Yavin as well, where they're going for the blasters there. So highlighting how big of a deal it is to have a blaster, then having the TIE fighters come over, which, like, normally, like you're saying, they're just like, these are just the kind of evil ships you blow up 6 of. But when you're really highlighting how much of an issue even getting any kind of armament is, or how most people in this crowd have nothing, they're just there with like a flag, or they're there to chant and just kind of stand there and protest, then like the people concealing some weapons like Cassian, these are all important to what they're doing, but they are small arms. And then the Empire has every type of weapon imaginable there, and we know what they're building,
and ships in orbit. And like, you don't watch this thinking
the Armada mentioned.
You don't watch this thinking the Gormans, man, they really got a good shot here.
Like, and they all know that, like, the people talking to like the actual Gorman front, none of them are thinking that they're about to like throw the Empire off their planet and be fine. But they're getting what Luthen wants, so
we got a lot of Luthen to talk about later. Do you want to talk Syril now, or is there anything else regarding the actual genocide or the scenes itself that you wanted to bring up?
Let's do Syril, and then I'm sure there'll be stuff to loop in as we go. But
I really liked Syril. I mean, I've liked him since season 1. He's not he's not a good guy. He's not a Krennic. He's kind of somewhere in between. He's kind of. I really liked how they handled him this episode, because at one point you've got to ask, like, what is motivating Syril? And he's always been motivated from the very beginning by a sense of justice. Now, in saying that, I got to be clear. That doesn't mean Cyril's a good person, because we see him do bad things before he's tricked by Deirdra. We see him, or before he completely buys into the fact that the rebellion's wrong. We see when he's a security guard with Morlana and they go to Ferrix, that Ferrix is basically under their boot. They break into people's houses. They do what they want. Obviously, there's like levels of criminality. He already, like, Syril at his base level is an authoritarian, but he's at least, you can say things about Syril you can't say about even Deirdra. Like, Syril, I think, and this isn't an excuse, he means well.
Well, so his thing is more that stability is good almost, and that comes through authority, and then that is conflated in his mind with justice. Like any systemic injustice is something that he doesn't tend to notice, as long as there is this like baseline level of stability around him.
Right.
And that's what the Empire represents.
If something happens bad in the Empire, and we've seen this with, we were just talking about this with the last arc, where, if the Empire makes a mistake, when the Empire does something bad, it's a mistake. It's because the Empire is not being executed perfectly. Palpatine's desire is not being executed perfectly. So, okay.
Well, it's the same thing as the Empire doesn't know, or the Emperor doesn't know. It's these other people that are below him. Exactly.
And obviously, watching it from our perspective, we know the truth. But I was just going in this episode. I wish I'd made a video about this. I was really wondering, like, what is going to be his motivation once he sees how things are going? Is he going to accept this or not? Because there comes a point where it's so clear that what is happening is not just, is not stable. It's not, even within the Empire's rule of law. Because, like we mentioned, Syril seems to believe that because Syril does think, like many do, think back to Lost Stars, that the Rebel Alliance is a force of evil, that, the Empire is what's keeping the galaxy together, and that the Rebel Alliance is evil. So, from that perspective, we can kind of understand why he would want to stomp the rebels out and help with the honeypot. But then when he sees how things are actually going, he realizes his life comes apart, basically.
In his mind, like, whatever the Empire is doing, it must be justified because these other people are making these problems. The Empire wouldn't have to do these things if everyone would just calm down and do what the Empire says. But what he's learning about here is that the Empire is pushing things for their own purposes as well.
Yeah.
Not just that they're evil, but
yeah, that's I wrote, like, Syril is not a good person, but it feels like there's a universe where he could have been, probably.
Syril is always going to be a reflection of the system that he starts in, I think.
Yeah.
Like, there was an interview that Kyle Sorrell, I think his name is. It's Kyle, but I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Did an interview on Collider talking about how, had that moment not happened, had Cassian not been there, and had Syril somehow made it off of Gorman, that Syril probably ends up just, like, leaving it all behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not the kind of guy who, when his belief system is shaken in the Empire, is going to go over to the rebellion.
Yeah.
It was going to just probably go away.
Yeah.
It probably would have just completely broken him rather than turn him into a rebel.
Yeah, I don't think he'd been a rebel.
But I think in general, there is something to be said for the fact that, like, with almost every character we see in all of Star Wars who becomes a rebel, there was a point at which they were an Imperial.
Yeah.
Like, all of the rebel generals, all the, like, Mon Mothma, Bail, these are people who used to think at some point, to some degree, that they could make some sort of change within the system, or being part of that system was either something that could be good or was just a thing you did. Like, we see Luke at the start of episode 4, where he just thinks you go to the Imperial Academy, that's how you get off this backwater world. And there are, like, everyone in the Empire is involved in that to some degree. And it's easier for humans, but, like, Syril is just kind of the more fanatical end of that. But I think the flip side of that is that when he finds out what he thinks is true of the Empire isn't, then it probably has a bigger effect on him. Instead of thinking, I need to go find some other system to work for, it's just, everything I ever believed is wrong. And it just turns into probably a mess on the floor.
Yeah, because Syril, like, hasn't only worked for the Empire. He was also basically like a corporate cop before then.
Yeah.
And, like, that it's also more like, his whole situation is made more messed up by the fact that Cassian legitimately killed 2 people to start the show. And yes, they were harassing him, and they've probably done far worse to other people. But Syril, even if he should know that, he doesn't, or he is ignoring it.
That is what the system might do.
Yeah. So, like, when he sees Cassian, people are like, I think he doesn't think it. I think he feels like Cassian kind of has gotten him there in some way. Yeah. Obviously, he started off everything. But the other thing is, like, what else is he supposed to do? Because you're right. His world has completely fallen apart. Like, his entire understanding of what makes things work has crumbled. So,
yeah, like, we're ultimately seeing that initial interaction come full circle, where all he knew about Andor was that he killed the cops,
Yeah.
but he couldn't, for the same reason that he couldn't conceive of the idea that like these rebel groups might have legitimate grievances and legitimate reasons to acting the way they were against the Empire. He couldn't conceive earlier that maybe there was something more going on, that even if it doesn't necessarily justify Cassian's actions, it explains it in a way that isn't just Cassian is a criminal element that must be eliminated.
Yeah.
But how much do you think? So if Cassian hadn't been about to shoot Deirdre, do you think it goes the same way? Or do you think he's
I don't
maybe
think he
able
gave
to
a
control himself?
Oh, I don't think he gave a shit that Cassian was about to shoot Deirdre. I don't even know if he noticed that or not. I think he just saw
But wasn't
him
he
and-
looking through the scope at the time?
Cassian was for
Deirdre's
sure.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think. I don't really think that that he cared. I don't think Syril put that together. I think he just saw him and went feral. But I mean, we also got to point that at the end, he was about to put his blaster down. Because I mean, maybe out of shock, because for 3 years, hating Cassian's been kind of his guiding light, and Cassian doesn't even know who he is. We also have to remember, I think people downplay the traumatic events that Syril's been through as well, especially at the end of episode 3, where again he thinks he's on the side of law and order. He's hunting down someone who's a murderer. He believes he has them trapped, and then we get that scene where not only does Cassian escape, but he sets off a bomb that kills several more people. And we've got that. One of my favorite scenes of season 1 is when what's his name? The other corpo guy is like screaming in his face and is like,
Bosk?
Yeah, he's like give an order, like what do we do? And he's just standing there shell shocked, basically. So he's kind of been radicalized in his own way, and now he's you got to give him credit for at least breaking out of it, because he didn't have to.
Well, we don't know what his response would ultimately be.
Yeah.
Like, he's upset at Deirdre in the moment for using him in that way. And like, maybe given enough time to actually think about what was going on, he'd feel more remorse about what he'd done on Gorman. He was starting to head that direction of understanding that he was responsible for selling these people out, and then feeling that same betrayal from Deirdre.
Yeah.
But what we've seen from him so many times is how easily he's able to reconcile or to how to deal with that cognitive dissonance, where like there is stuff that should stick out to him as not quite adding up, not quite being right.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference with Ferrix from Gorman is that he has had more time with these people.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way that isn't him being a cop lording over them.
Yeah.
Where they are just the problem elements that he's there to deal with. He has instead been like part of this group, heard their motivations, heard their side of the story more. So maybe this is finally enough to make him think about it a new way. But he has had so many chances to make better decisions.
That's true.
And he has, at every step, chosen not to. Like, he's been with the Gorman front, I think, for 2 years now. And he was still like doing that job and willing to do that job until this last step was made, until he learned just how extreme what the Empire was going to do was. So I it's hard to give him
that's fair.
too much credit for where he might have gone otherwise. Because he's fundamentally still okay with most of the Empire's aims. Like, is he going to be one of the people that thinks, oh, it's the ISB that's rotten and it's not the rest of the system? Because I feel like that's where the next step ends up, of being just... Because there are plenty of people within the Empire who think, oh, it's actually just the ISB that are fucked up. And I think that's probably where he might go in that situation.
Yeah, it's a good argument. Especially because he did see what happened on Ferrix already. Like, there already was a pretty serious atrocity on Ferrix that he was there for. So, I guess you could say it's a little different, but not really.
Yeah, and it's not just to say like, oh, Syril was always going to be evil or something. It's that so many of what we see people deal with in the show relates to their personal connection to whatever the problems are. Like they're only able to make those steps once it's something that is directly impacting them, which is just how people are. Like that's not a direct condemnation of anyone, even Syril, because he was coming at it from a position where him understanding the issues with the Empire required empathy rather than just logic, because he was not the one affected by it yet. Instead, he was affected negatively by the actions of people lashing out against the Empire.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you see Cassian getting involved, not necessarily because he is, like, purely motivated by the good of the galaxy. Like, for him to have any kind of life, he needs to be involved in this. And same for Bix, same for Brasso even. Like, a lot of them take more steps that show a lot more ability to empathize with other people's situations, that they actually care about what happens to other people, especially Brasso.
Yeah.
But the extent to which they're able to get involved and their willingness to give up their prior life is partially motivated by expediency rather than pure altruism.
Yeah, that's what that's the conversation between Clea and Cassian, where he's like, I just want to make my own decisions, and she's like, isn't that why we're
here?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's a good point. Everyone's self-motivated in their own way. One of the least self-motivated characters is maybe Luthen in a weird way, where where he does his life change that much under the Republic as a high as a high art salesman? Maybe a little bit, but he basically in his monologue in season 1 talks about how he's had this plan for 15 or 18 years, whatever he says. So he just hates the Empire. And he even it seems like he even hated the Republic the way it was going.
Yeah, it's more about how do you make that initial step, right? Like for Syril, that initial step was a bigger initial step than for other people, both because of his just who he is at his core, but also because of the situation he was coming from, where he wasn't one of the downtrodden in the same way that Luthen isn't. But we don't know what's really motivating Luthen, like what his initial motivation was. But I think there is something that the Gorman focus really shows, and like the fact that Gorman is such a big example for people. Like we see the extent that Mon Mothma and Bail are willing to go to now, but what is fundamentally different about what's happened on Gorman versus what happened on Aldhani Ferrix or Aldhani, or what happened on Kashyyyk, because we know that things aren't good there either, or Geonosis. So there are these increasing levels of like, these are the others. What's happening to them? Maybe I can rationalize this as like not necessarily a sign of the Empire being rotten, or maybe it's someone else's fault in some way. But Gorman is important, as Luthen points out, because it is this
human.
It's happening to rich people now.
Yeah. It's happened to Space Paris. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of discussion about. I think we might have talked about this last week. We did actually, but whether it's German or French, and it's French sounds, but no French words.
Yeah, you're not understanding much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun planet to meet for a while. Obviously, very bad things are happening, and hopefully they at least move the rest of the people off the planet, not just drill baby drill. The Empire can say whatever they want now. Yeah,
Gorman is going to be an empty husk.
Yeah, well, we know they finished the Death Star, so you kind of get the feeling that they didn't even really try that hard to find substitutes. Like the ISB, they got to do something. Like
they have a big budget. So here's the thing. For any department anywhere, but especially in government, if you have a budget for a year and you don't use that budget, you don't get that budget again the next year. So usually in the final quarter, you'll have like a lot of spending, and that's what's going on Gorman here.
We have 3
Where
genocides this year we haven't used.
yeah, and they won't be allowed to have those 3 or get a 4th if they don't use all 3. They'll be put back down to 2, and then it's 2 more fiscal years before they're allowed to get that 3rd one back. So they got to make sure it's used. If it's not Gorman, it's got to be somewhere else, and then you got to get a permit for those.
Yeah. Anything else about episode 2 you wanted to mention? I'm just kind of scrolling through.
I guess we're kind of handling it character by character, right? So
yeah.
And Syril doesn't have
Deirdra
a big plot in
wanted.
episode 9. Yeah, you want to?
Like, I got some people are. Well, I do have sympathy for Syril, and he's a sad character. Like, Deirdra, it's a bridge too far, because yes, she feels bad about what she's doing, but she
only when it's impacting her.
Yeah. And maybe she does not, even still, maybe she does hate to see all the civilians die. Okay. Like, you made the call. And she gives the classic, if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else.
Yeah.
Like,
and, well,
come on.
She has not had that same personal interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she, like most of the ISB people who aren't the field agents like Syril is acting in the capacity of, like, she has not had these interactions with people. These are still abstract for her until she's on Gorman now. Like, she's been on Coruscant most of the time. When she goes into the field, it's with targets already specified. Like, she's not infiltrating these groups in a way that she's learning about them as people.
Yeah,
so she's always had that extra level of removal.
A lot more disconnected. That's why I feel like that Scar guy is so evil, because he's the opposite. He's on the fucking streets helping the barricade set up, putting the guys into position, and then he's smiling afterwards. Like, what a sick puppy.
So many puppies tonight.
But yeah, fuck Deirdra. Hopefully she gets a blaster between the eyes before it's over.
I feel like she probably lives. Maybe that's. Maybe that's wrong, because they're like, Cassian killing her would be kind of a conclusion to one of the driving forces in the show, and you'd have to. I'm already doubting myself. I'm on the Deirdra dies train now. I talked myself out of it.
I think she probably does die, but I'm not going to be shocked if she doesn't, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the more I think about it, the more I think, like, Cassian killing her has to be some kind of, like, climactic moment for it. Or if Cassian kills Lonnie because he doesn't understand how everything has worked. Lonnie's that would be the real tragedy.
Yeah. Willman, though. Another woman for Willman. How about him? The dude just girlfriends on every planet. This is my mid-rim girlfriend.
There you
go. You don't want to see my hut space girlfriend.
I thought he'd be dying, and I'm glad he didn't. I think he's safe now. He's had his injury. Unless they just go into the next episode after Cassian said, oh, he's young, he'll be fine, it's all clean. And then they're like, oh, nope, he got septic right after the last episode.
Yeah.
The Force healers didn't work for him.
Yeah, Night Docs is pointing out that it looks like they may have it looks like they may have a confrontation, her and Cassian, maybe in Luthen's shop, so.
Okay.
Or, I don't know if Cassian, but we see her in Luthen's shop anyway, so.
I think that's... I don't remember... Like, I don't think Cassian was in that scene, right? I think that's Clea.
Think Cassian was, yeah.
I think that's going to be a shootout between her and Clea.
That'd be awesome. I love Clea. What I like about Clea is that you watch it and you think, oh, she's the assistant. But she's clearly not.
She's the real power here.
Yeah, she's checked Luthen so many times. Luthen is more connected, and he's got his fingers in the pots, but like she reminds him so many times, hey, what you're doing is really fucking dumb right now.
Yeah. Clea might be my favorite character.
I really like her.
Not for like depth of her arc or anything, just as a person in a scene, just makes every scene better.
Yeah, she's great. She's really good. So those are most of the characters featured in the episode 8. Is there anyone else you want to mention before we talk about?
I think the big ones.
Mothma,
if we have anything else to say about like Cassian's arc overall, maybe.
I mean, I get it. I get where he's coming from, but
Yeah.
we know where he's headed. So
This is his final arc of like I'm out kind of deal.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of focus on that, and I feel like I don't know how much there is to really say about that.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's not compelling, but we know
No, it is.
We know he's
It's just
going
yeah. What is there new to say there?
I mean, he did a great job of showing how emotionally affected he was by all this. Where, like, he's not Kyle Katarn, who sees a million people get mowed down and kills a million as reprisal. Like, he's driving away crying, and then like the next,
he really wants that K2 droid or KX droid.
yeah. And then Clea is like locked the fuck in next episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that about him. He's looking more and more like disheveled and vulnerable, but he does lock in and gets Mon Mothma off Coruscant.
Yeah, it's so weird thinking about like Cassian being just off screen for some of this, for some of the Rebel stuff. It's just animated Cassian would be a thing.
Kind of surprised it never happened. Well, it could have happened. Yeah, kind of surprised it never happened because the shows were kind of lined up. I think it was season 3 came out
Rebels
when Rogue One did.
Was it? Yeah, I guess that was. Man, I don't know why. She was just so long ago.
Yeah,
Just feels like it's not as long ago as it is, but it do.
it do be like that. It do be like that.
Well, these Gormans are getting massacred, or Gores are getting massacred, gored, if you will. There's the cartoon hijinks of Zeb and Ezra.
Yeah,
with
that's
Saw
like
Gerrera
Mon Mothma
high on fucking rocket fuel.
Mon Mothma gets rescued and then has to go on an adventure where she's. I think that's the one. Isn't that where the one where she's like being chased by the TIE Defender and they go through the nebula and blow it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. They kill a Star Destroyer. Mon Mothma's like, Jesus.
Maybe that's why this really adds a lot of context to why the rest of the Ghost crew didn't want Ezra hanging out with Saw. It's like, I'm just gonna offer him drugs again.
Yeah, no, like this kid's hard enough to control when he's not on the fucking gas.
But yeah, so Cassian does the delivery of Mon Mothma.
Yep.
He's good and he's cool in a difficult situation, and then also we have Mon Mothma's aide, another good character.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he's in Rebels as well. You can see him in that scene where she's making the basically the declaration of the rebellion. I'll say about Bix. I feel mixed about how they've Erskine. Yes, I feel mixed about how they've handled Bix, where her role has been to be traumatized and then to step aside for Cassian's character development.
Yeah. Yeah, that part, that's not great. I'd think it was a bigger problem if there weren't so many other female characters that have
for sure
stories that are more self-motivated. But she's also she's accomplished a lot.
Yep. And
there are it's a fairly diverse cast as far as that goes, at least. So
it is. I do feel like I wanted to see her gain her rebel credentials and her wings a bit more, I guess. Because she went from no real experience in season 1 to it was a step for me too far when she's breaking in. And I understand why they did it, where she's breaking into the mind control place and killing that dude. I was like, okay.
Yeah, we get some dialogue between Cassian and Luthen that kind of alludes to her being one of their best operatives as well. I feel like that's something that probably got lost in the whole 5 seasons to 1 season cutback. I feel like Bix was probably one of the biggest losers in that.
Yeah, probably.
But unfortunate. But that's just the way she goes sometimes.
But someone's saying I was expecting a pregnancy reveal. That would be insane if they did that after kind of doing it with Rebels as well.
Yeah, they do that. That's classics. That's too classic Star Wars. I was wondering if they would actually show the ghost because they're like, oh, we're expecting a freighter here.
I thought they might.
She's doing the speech. We got the live action Zeb already. If he gets a
his toenails,
live action appearance in Andor,
his toenails are in. Yeah, I was hoping we'd see. I was hoping we'd see some ships too. I'm just a big ship guy. I thought we might see the fleet above, although it's more of a mining fleet than a. But yeah, Bix is an interesting character. I've got no idea because I can see her dying. I feel like people will be annoyed if she dies to reinvigorate Cassian after.
I don't think she's coming back. I think we're done with her.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think we might get some Wellman, but other than that, it's going to be Cassian running around with Hera and Zeb. Just a complete tonal shift. It's going to be like rebel style dialogue.
Kind of need it, honestly.
Chopper.
Kind of need it after that last episode. Jesus.
Then we see how on the Rings of Kafrene, there was like right before we see Cassian, Hera's like, okay, go kill that guy. And it just really puts Hera in a much darker light.
Meluron fruit right before that. I mean, they went on their way to reintroduce Melshi. I do find it funny how like there's all these fucking Rogue One characters. I think Rogue One is pretty weak in terms of characters.
Explaining characters, yeah.
Like, oh, Melshi's there. And like, I went to my dad's house and he was watching Rogue One the other day. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And watching it again for the first time not that long, but I was like, oh yeah, okay, Melshi's more prominent than I remembered. But like, I still didn't recognize him right away when I watched Andor season 1.
Well, that's why I have to do all that bullshit I do in our discussions about whether Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie, where I claim the rebellion's a character and that it gets a lot of characterization, and then so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So he's definitely going to be there for the finale, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because why else?
Well, even Narkina 5, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess maybe they're just showing that like the little acts Cassian's been doing have helped, but
he looks. So I don't know if it's a characterization thing so much as he's a very generic looking man.
Yeah, he is. He's a white dude in the military.
He would, in a world where we're in the Legend cinematic universe, though, Jag fell.
Yeah, I can see it.
Tell me I'm wrong, chat.
I was on the
most
Reddit
boring man in the world
for the show, and someone said the Force Healer would be an excellent. What's her name? Tion Solusar, and I was like, I don't think I've ever in my life clocked someone as a good fan cast for Tion Solusar. I was like, yeah, put a loot in her hand.
There's what's that show? Grace and Frankie or something? It's Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin is my Tion.
Okay. Lily, I feel like I know her.
She was Miss Frizzle, but I mean animated, so you can't really.
That's a good Tion, yeah, for sure.
There you go.
But yeah, I did like that Force Healer though. There's something very like 70s or 80s about her that I just thought she fit the vibe really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still getting into the whole like indigenous culture and all the kind of stuff that the Empire's papering over.
Yeah.
That like you get that with the Gorman, even though that's Paris. And it's weird thing of Paris as like the indigenous culture of cafes.
They're very important to us.
Yep.
Le pain.
So that's kind of where we're going with that.
Do not take le bread from me.
Yes, le bread.
I said le pain.
Those the French classes really did you well there. Mm-hmm. But how about Bail? How are you feeling about Bail?
I mean, I wish it was Jimmy. Not because we talked about this last episode where like they're going to need to, if they want to keep doing Star Wars movies, it's going to happen more and more and more. I do like Jimmy more as the character. I thought the new guy did a good job, and yeah, I liked Bail. So I'm really glad that they made the decision to keep his role in, especially if it was not have him or like if they couldn't get Jimmy and they were thinking about not including the scenes, that would have been a mistake, because the dynamic between the two, especially reading Mask of Fear, I saw someone mention that in the chat, where like, yes, they have ideological differences, but like things are so fucking far gone that all that's out the window. They both are doing something incredibly brave, because Mon has to leave and he has to stay, and he's going to be in the fucking heat of it. And we know what's going to happen to him as well.
Yeah.
Or we don't.
There was a minor lore snafu pointed out where Bail in the Rebels episode is watching from Yavin when Mon Mothma gives her speech. But
I saw someone point out that like it looks like Yavin, but it also could just be...
It could just be an office.
Yeah, it could be like an office anywhere. A CR-95, a CR-90, a Coruscant.
Yavin's not the only place with a round table, guys.
Yeah, we've seen many round tables.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's even knights on some of them.
Yeah, there was also a little snafu over their speech. Her speech is different. I actually don't like how they end up handling this. So in the Rebels episode where they rescue Mon Mothma, they do watch a holo recording of her. Mm-hmm. And the explanation, and it's different than the speech she gives at the Senate. So my thought was, okay, they've just changed it. Like, you're not going to shackle yourself to a kid's animated show.
You have that in Revenge of the Sith novelization versus the movie as well.
You don't need to shackle yourself to a kid's animated show from nearly a decade ago. But apparently, I read this article from Gilroy, and the idea is she does this speech on her way to meet Gold Squadron. She does another speech, and then she does a third one, the one that we see at the end of Rebels. So,
yeah. It's different audiences.
Yeah, it's true.
The first speech she does in the Senate was for the other senators. Mm-hmm. She basically does it during fucking question period. Yeah. Who gives a shit what, do you watch question period? It's not going on.
Something funny happens.
No one cares. So, yeah, it's in 5 years, it'll be on a YouTube HoloNet compilation of Imperial versus New Republic politics.
Woke senator.
And it'll be right before the Prophet of Regret gets hit in the balls by a tennis ball or something that gets thrown from the stands. But you have that one. Then you have the one for the rest of the Rebels. Then you have the one that goes out over the HoloNet.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yeah.
And you gotta have 3.
Yeah, I guess you do. I guess you do gotta have 3. I really liked the spy versus spy intrigue in episode 9. Mm-hmm. And again, Young from the ISB, there's been a couple times this season where if you're not paying attention, you can wonder how did they figure that out? And one we talked about at the end of the first arc was when he basically leaks the location of the new mind control place to the Rebels. And they don't explicitly tell you that, but you can kind of figure it out. And then in this one, it was Young's agent, that woman on Bale's team. And it never actually tells us that that's how they were tipped off. But I mean, that's how they were tipped off. And I really like that bit of detail. Also, thank you, Fearless Wolf, for the 20 euro donation, or pound, sorry. Andor Season 2 looking worse than Season 1 already. Why are they Disney insistent on turning Star Wars into some Earth-like dystopia? As soon as they started saying it went full Les Miserables. What happened to a galaxy far, far away? I mean, that's a conversation we've had, not to that degree, but for sure some people, I did mention that Space Paris was getting to be a little too close to the real world, but I mean, I think it paid off in the end, and I think it's part of the reason why the massacre ended up being so impactful, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
There's been a few times where Andor's
I don't know.
And in Season 1, I remember very distinctly there was a moment where they're ordering space Chinese takeout. I was like, all right, there could have been something a bit more creative here, but to me that it's there's so much good in the show that
yeah, and I feel like people are going to say that when there's any kind of exploration of what people's lives look like. Because, I mean, Andor is not the first or only Star Wars property to model somewhere in universe off of a very specific type of culture in the real world.
Of course not. I mean,
it's just Paris ends up being more familiar to a lot of people than...
Yeah, I'm sure if we knew more about like Tunisia, we'd be like, what the fuck is this when watching A New Hope? Bro, they're just in Tunisia right now. For parts.
Yeah, like we have Dex's Diner in episode 2.
Yeah.
Where I feel like if that was in Andor, it would be getting the same...
I think Dex's
comments.
Diner needs more hate, if I'm being honest. Someone order some Java juice?
Well, I feel like the health department probably gives it enough hate if they ever show up there. Man, just ass crack out all the time.
It's just hanging crack.
Yeah, like it. This is just what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
And then we have that scene in Empire Strikes Back, that was based on Alabama, where Luke and Leia make out.
I think when they're in the swamp.
It's cultures from all over the world.
We got Alabama, we got Florida swamps here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then to be clear, I was talking about Paris, Ontario when I say that Gorman is like Paris.
And then they got to blow up the shield generator on California.
Yep. We had a bit earlier Bane's basement saying, why don't the Gorman just cook for their own space bloc Quebecois? We got Francois Blanchet in there.
That's just
he's the new Bail
name,
Organa.
Too. He doesn't even need to change his name.
Just turn the dashes into an apostrophe, and then that's Star Wars naming.
Yeah, it sure is.
And also earlier we had Scherzo was asking with a $5 donation, I wonder if he, meaning Syril Karn, died believing Rylance's idea that there's an ISB cabal doing evil stuff in the Empire's name. We kind of talked about the possibility for that.
I don't think so, though. Because Deirdre said straight up, like, it was happening no matter what. Maybe he doesn't believe it, but I feel like he probably does.
Well, that's still the ISB. But I feel like there is the possibility for, like, that compartmentalizing, right? Where everything that everyone does, like, there's ways to make it seem like it's not...
Yeah.
And you brought up Lost Stars, where like those guys were all there when Alderaan blows up, and they still are like, oh, must have been
mining disaster. Crazy how that
crazy
how Alderaan just did that. Alderaan just did that.
It shot first. We all saw it.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, she does say it came from the Emperor, but maybe he doesn't believe her. I do feel like I personally feel like he is completely disillusioned with the Empire, but that's just my preferred interpretation. I think you can go with either or.
Well, he definitely doesn't love the Empire anymore.
No.
Doesn't love anything.
No.
I did feel a bit bad for Edie there.
Oh yeah.
In one scene.
I mean, she's pretty awful, but
yeah.
You can feel bad for bad people.
What?
I said you
can feel good for bad people?
You feel bad.
Want to examine that a little bit?
No.
What?
I felt good that I'll feel good for Deirdre when she gets
blasted by Clea.
4th degree burns through her ear and out the other side.
There you go. Any other characters that we've skipped over that need? Maybe let's do a life check, and then we might think of some characters to talk a bit more about while we do that.
A life check?
So, well, there are some predictions on whether they're going to be alive at the end. We'll start with 3 easy ones: Cassian, Mon Mothma, and Bail. You think they're going to make it?
I think they'll probably make it.
Okay, Bix. I'm on record already with yes.
I think
can't
she will.
change my
Yeah,
answer there.
I think she will.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Luthen a little bit.
Okay.
Because one interesting development I thought in this block of episodes was like the full separation between between Luthen and the rebellion, and it's like it's not like with Saw. The rebellion values Luthen pretty clearly, because Mon says and others say like it's time to go to Yavin, but like I think for one, Luthen doesn't trust anything going on at Yavin, and like.
No.
The more I think about it, how did nobody ever fucking find Yavin? Because there's like people flying in and out. So yeah, he probably doesn't trust all the eggs in one basket. He knows he's got more to do, but I find that interesting how he's still so influential, even though there is this like massive rebel group forming. He still is like it's his tendrils kind of going through everything.
Yeah, it feels like Luthen is not the kind of guy who's going to be able to make it, to like bring it over the edge, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not going to bring it home the way that Mon Mothma does.
Yeah.
Where once you are ready to turn it into a true open fight, you need Mon Mothma, not Luthen.
Yep.
Like Luthen isn't going to inspire anyone.
Yep.
Everyone who meets him ends up hating him. Clea can barely tolerate him. Cassian says he hasn't burned every bridge yet, and Luthen's like, fucking watch me, bud. And he just, the mad lad goes and does it.
But it's also like the rebellion's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Like they still need that
they're
guy.
just transitioning that. Yeah. They're always going to need guys like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Cassian becomes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, he's not going to do well in a team environment.
No. Yeah. But yeah, I think we both probably don't suspect he'll make it out of this one.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Be mad if he did. I'll say that.
I'm kind of feeling the opposite of Deirdra, where like I thought he'd die, but the more I think about it, the more I think he might survive. It's just I don't know what he'll be up to, but like there's always this thing of like, oh well, if this character's alive, where were they at the Battle of Yavin? Where were they during the original trilogy? But like, it's a galaxy. There's a bunch of shit going on.
Can Luthen fly an X-wing? Actually, he can't fly, so that's his ship. His fucking lightsaber ship probably could have been really useful at Yavin, but oh yeah, Darth Vader. See ya, buddy.
What if Luthen's a Jedi? He wears Starkiller's armor from his store.
If they make Luthen Jedi, I'm unsubbing from Disney Plus. Actually,
we're gonna the
I'm
final
gonna
scene.
I'm gonna break an NDA. I'm gonna find an NDA that's still in effect and break it.
We don't have our previews anymore.
No. I'll find something.
I kind of wonder if it's because when I get the book previews, they're mailed to TapCaf Transmissions.
Are they really?
So I don't know if I was like, yeah.
That's funny.
So I don't know if I was like added by you under like when you suggested to add me under like some joint name where we're both TapCaf Transmissions, and that's why I was getting the previews. So when they
it was kind of like that when
default.
Yeah, because I did get them on the basis of doing a book club, but mine just say my name on it, so I don't know. It's weird.
Oh well. But are we getting a lightsaber?
A lightsaber?
Yeah. I'm saying no, but I'm giving you the option to disagree.
No, Exar Kun uses a staff. So.
Still a saber staff is still a lightsaber.
No, but I mean, when he's a ghost, doesn't he have like an actual like staff like a? Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought he.
I think
had
you're thinking of Marco Ragnos.
Yeah, I am. You're right. I am.
He doesn't turn into a red demon.
Yeah. Okay.
He's always just old Kip Durin, who's just older Zek.
Yeah.
They really fucked up making Zek and Kip Durin be the same guy. Misplay the century.
We can have one greasy guy. One. That's all we got room for.
Who's gonna be Canon's greasy guy?
Flint said the camera angles of Cass took her away reminded me of the Luthen taking Cass away into Ferrix into the rebellion. You mean like when he's walking her out of the chamber? Yeah, that's a good comparison where he's like just walk and I really like the moment where there's two moments I really liked about that. One when she's in the speeder and she looks back at like the Senate and like she's been there her whole life. And like she's never, well, for all she knows, she's never going to be back. And then when she's in the apartment and she's like, bro, I was in the Senate, now I'm in this place.
Mon Mothma gets the dream that everyone has with their first shitty job where they're gonna storm out, declare a galactic rebellion, and come back and own the place. Like,
yeah, and she's also got it nice where like some of them have been doing this for like 10 years. She gets like good 4 years in, 5 years in to the actual shitty part, and then she's good to go.
Yep. You don't want the job right away. Someone's got to paint in there.
Yeah.
Wyatt's saying, my headcanon is that during the 1 year gap between 3 and 2 BBY, before Cassian left Luthen gave Cassian the location of Yavin for Draven as a potential rebel base. I feel like it definitely came from Cassian,
Yeah.
but we also, like, Maya Pei's group was there
too.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was already like getting off the ground as a potential spot. So
the more I'm
even
thinking,
before Cassian went in on it.
if they wanted to continue, not Andor, but something like that, they could do a Mon Mothma show. Because, like, she remains the right age. And there's so much about where she is between episodes 4 and episodes 6. We don't know where she is because, like, she didn't exist until, like, where was she during Yavin? Was she on Hoth? Like, what was she doing? Because we still don't really know. Like, it appears the rebellion got a lot stronger between episode 4 and episode 6, and a lot of that would have been Mon Mothma stuff. Like, they see Alderaan get blown up. That's, like, even worse than Gorman. So
yeah, like a show where we find out what happened. Like, you still have the family drama going on. Like, was Perrin gone a year ago? Did anything happen to reconcile her with Leda? Like, there's a lot there, and Genevieve O'Reilly was, like, just such a get for them. Like, her being cast 20 years ago in this role with such a small part, mostly cut from Revenge of the Sith, but now, like, she is just incredible in this show. She's fantastic.
Maybe she's in a background scene, but I don't think so.
Were all the scenes cut?
Yeah,
I guess.
Man, she's almost 50. That's crazy.
No, wasn't one of them there in?
I don't think so.
No, I need to actually rewatch the movie. They should put it in theaters.
It says she was in. I don't think she
was. I think one of the scenes with Padme, Bail, and, like, some of the delegation people is there. It's just not a delegation anymore.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong about that scene being in it.
Or something. But I know she doesn't have any lines or anything. But yeah, I really think the only problem is it's not going to be Gilroy doing it, and if they do a show like that, the comparisons are going to be obvious. But I feel like we've explored this era so much, with Rebels, with the Bad Batch, just everything taking place during this time period. I feel like even in Legends, we get Shadows of the Empire, but there's some pretty big time gaps they could make some interesting content in. Yeah.
But also, I know Gilroy is done with Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But a lot of people are done with Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe they could get him back, but Cole says,
I don't think he'd do more than one season, but I think there's an outside shot of getting him back to do, like, one more season of something. But
Cole says, and I think this is right, was she on the platform after the Battle of Coruscant? I think that's right. I think she's there, like, on the landing platform during the I'm not brave enough for politics, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what the future of Star Wars shows is going to look like either, though. Mm-hmm. Like, we have the movies coming. We have 4 movies that are, like, solidly coming, and then trilogy. So
yeah, there's
a lot that is, I don't know, seemingly coming. But writers are, like, as much as Tony Gilroy obviously deserves a lot of credit, writers' rooms and having multiple writers on it, like, a lot of the arcs were written by different people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of involvement from a lot of people here. It wasn't just Tony Gilroy is brilliant. It's that they had a good idea for what the tone of the show needed to be, and then a lot of people had a lot to contribute to that, including people who had, like, Tony Gilroy, as Maji is saying in chat, like, he's not a Star Wars fan, and I think that is an important perspective to have.
Or at least not, like, a
there's.
I know the quote, but I just mean.
Yeah, but, like, there are so many people who will treat it with this either
more
kid gloves or
yeah,
and I think that's one of the reasons I don't like J.J. Abrams' work with Star Wars generally, where
Yeah.
like I think it was fine for The Force Awakens, but like there is so much clear reverence
Yeah.
for what was already there that I'm not a big J.J. Abrams fan, never, but there's just it's not willing to take it anywhere and like make the story be worthwhile on its own. And I think that's something that if you have like, it's good to have a mix of people who are bigger Star Wars fans who know the show really, or who know the universe really well, while also having people who are not like fanboys.
Yeah, I think the other big thing that is maybe underappreciated is something we've talked about a lot, in that Andor really benefits from the TV format. In like, look at Ahsoka. Ahsoka does not have time for small moments. Like, so much of Andor is built up and done so well because, like, I think back about season 1, and I'm like, man, I can't even like remember everything that happened because so much of it is just one-off conversations, again and again, sprinkled through the entire episode. And like, season 1 ends with a bang, but not in a way that like most Star Wars shows do, where it needs to feel like the culmination of a movie. And it's because I don't know when the decision was made to bring the show down from 5 seasons to 2. Either way, it seems pretty clear to me. They certainly had an end point because they already made it. They had a beginning point. I feel like they fleshed out many of the big points along the way, and that allowed them to make a first season which ended with an emotional high, or an emotional just a big moment, but without having to be, oh, Exar Kun is back, let's get people talking about. Like, you could have condensed what happened.
Well, they're saving that.
Yeah, they're saving that for next arc. But I mean, you could have condensed what actually happened in Andor season 1 if you really wanted to, down to a couple of episodes, and they took the time, and the show really benefits for it. And I hope that whenever they do another show, they treat it like TV instead of like, Kenobi is probably the worst example of this, where it does not feel like a TV show. It feels like a long, drawn-out movie, and it doesn't work as a movie, and it doesn't work as a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Andor really avoids that though. Like, this season is 4 movies.
Yeah,
functionally.
This season's a lot closer to that.
And I think even last season there was elements of that. Like, I don't have the same problem with this feels more like a movie thing that you do.
Yeah.
Like, that hasn't bothered me as much. I think my issues with some of the other shows haven't really had to do with that kind of structural stuff. With Kenobi, it was more that I couldn't fucking see anything. Yeah. So
I don't know. Like, snapped that kid's neck. Oh, did he? I don't know. Allegedly.
Like, I think there's a lot of format stuff that can work. It's just the execution. But I also don't think everything needs to be Andor. I think, like, I don't know if it's like strictly a quality thing.
I just think like, Andor, I think it just has a lot more time to make the characters. Like, think about Ahsoka. And again, I really like Ahsoka, so I'm not trying to shit on it too much, but like, think about the conversations had between the characters. They almost always only serve to further the main plot, like the actual main aspect of the plot that is clearly moving forward. Sabine and Ahsoka, they've got all this backstory kind of implied by the show that we haven't seen yet. And like, they have kind of one conversation about their training, but like, it's like in episode 6 or 5, and it doesn't really feel natural. Like, you don't feel like, and that's where a TV show should benefit.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things we can point to is that if you go back to any of our podcast episodes that were about episode 7 of 8 for any of the other shows, it has invariably come down to how are they going to resolve X, Y, Z and the other thing. Yeah. Whereas with Andor, there aren't these like hanging plot threads. there's the one, like you're saying, the one very clear thing that the show is about, and everything is just exploring that thing.
Yeah.
Like there's the question of like, oh, how does Mon Mothma get out of the Senate? But like that is the Mon Mothma plot, and they're even doing that with having these big time jumps where like I would love to have more of this stuff explored, but I don't feel like I'm really missing out on anything. Whereas like I'm not going into these final arcs thinking like, oh well, how is everything going to resolve? Part of that is helped by the fact that we already have Rogue One, so they're building to something specific. But I think it is something we can see with basically every other show where it's set up this and that, and then just sure Andor's sister exists, but
yeah, does she?
Never know.
She was, yes. I loved her so much. Her name was Jennifer Plot Mover. She was so sweet.
Her name was Rhydonium.
That's Saw's sister's name. That's crazy.
Or Saw.
Yeah. I think
we didn't get any Saw. Do you think we're getting any more Saw?
I think we'll see him on Jeddah next episode.
On Jeddah? Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a trailer for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. See him on Jeddah.
All right.
And I will say one thing. Watching this, especially as you get closer to Rogue One, it reminds me of how I tweeted this the other day. It reminds me of how much I loved that era of Star Wars because I was so excited. Like we've said a million times, Force Awakens has a lot of issues, but like it got people back on the fucking train.
Yeah,
made a gajillion dollars. It was like Star Wars became a really big cultural thing again. And like we're getting to the point where like some of you guys are too young to remember that, which is, I mean, it makes sense. But where I've lived through Star Wars and its many ups and downs, very down between the between the prequels and the sequels, very down, and then Episode 7 came in, people got really hot, and then Andor came out, and it wasn't the most well-loved critical movie from the critics, but like it also made a gajillion dollars, and the fans loved
Rogue
it.
One.
And sorry, did I say something wrong?
You said Andor.
Oh yeah, sorry, Rogue One. Yeah, thank you.
And
it introduced a lot of cool new ships and lore and stories and characters, and then at the same time, Star Wars Rebels was coming out. It was just, I don't know. I personally was starting my YouTube channel. So it's like I'm very nostalgic for that time period where it felt like there was a lot of really exciting, fun things happening, and they were also getting the books pumping again. So yeah.
I should have started my channel 2 years earlier.
Yeah, I should have started it earlier too.
Should have started recording Empire at War several years earlier, but oh well.
Fucking idiot.
But yeah, so we got one more week of Andor, unless there's something else you want to hit on in this episode.
Nope, that's it. Good speech. We didn't really talk about the speech, but we've just
speeches never change anyone's mind. Like it doesn't.
I really like the truth matters thing. Like they could not have picked a better time to say that to remind people about that. Yeah.
But yeah, so we got one more week of Andor in us. Do you think the week after that we're gonna do a dedicated Tales of the Underworld?
Yeah,
episode?
we might as well.
Okay, so we'll do that. Well, do you want to maybe do Betrayal and then do Tales of the Underworld?
Sure.
I feel like there's not going to be a huge drop off or change in interest.
No.
So
I saw
next week, Andor finale. Week after that, we're going to be starting Legacy of the Force. So that'll be Betrayal. We'll have Ilkin from Kings and Generals joining us for that one again.
Allegedly.
Then we'll talk about Tales of the Underworld, and Bloodlines after that. And we're gonna try to get through Legacy of the Force over the summer. It has to happen.
I mean, I don't think it has to happen. I think it's going to happen.
It has to happen.
I mean, I think
I forget why it has to happen. I think there was a reason we wanted it. But
they're not making any more of these books, dude. Like, we're gonna read ourselves out of a fucking job if we're not careful.
We gotta catch up before we're at Crucible too. Well, then we can just talk about stuff as it comes out,
and we can. I want to do a Thrawn reread at some point.
Yeah, that's we get to the
Have we
second
done
go
that?
through.
We haven't done that, have we? Have we done an Heir to
We
the...
haven't redone any books. No.
I do want to do an Heir to the Empire reread at some point.
There you go.
I mean, all three.
We've still got like 40 Legends books left. Plus, hold on, I'm gonna go to the tier list.
Well, that's
'Cause
like
I
I know Matt
posted-
Wilkins is. I think he's on. He's done like reviews for every Legends novel, and I think he's on like his fourth or third go around.
Okay, so on our TapCaf tier list Google Doc,
Yeah.
I put up all the novels on the remaining novels page. I feel like we're not even done like half of Legends,
we
let
got lots
alone
left.
canon. So many comic books, which we're definitely going to talk about all of them. No. All right.
Well, I do
That's
want to read
gonna do
Rogue
it.
Squadron, that's for sure.
The Rogue Squadron or the X-Wing comics.
Mm-hmm. Is that what they are? X-Wing? Yeah.
I think they're called X-Wing.
I mean, so is
But
the
either way.
so is the book series, but
Maybe they are called Rogue. Either way, well, I know what you're talking about. That is going to do it for this week, though, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to Mon Mothma's Substack.
she would have a Substack. For sure, she would.
That's where things are happening.
And a TikTok.
Right.
Listen, we got to talk about what's happening over at Gorman. Got to engage the Gen Zs. Gen Zs.
All the
Blockade
kids
is
talking about the
not
raw
cool.
dogging
Let me
on
explain
Gorman.
to you.
All that raw dogging that the Gores are doing. No
Good night,
technology at all. Right. Bye.
All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Night Doc, good to see you, buddy. Sorry that we weren't answering all your questions in chat, guys. This is how we record the podcast. It's got to go up as an audio, so it's not a whole lot of fun for the listeners if we're just reading chat over and over again. But if you did enjoy this, Corey, you still live, by the way?
Yeah, I'm not live.
Okay,
but
well, fuck Corey then. If you're watching mine and you enjoy this, give a like, and more importantly, go ahead, click. I got the link in the description to the audio podcast, guys. If you did like this, we've got how many episodes are we at, Corey?
just over 200.
200 episodes. We've read.
Some of them are good. Not
Some of
all.
them are good. Corey's bringing out the guitar. We spent about 3 hours on Truce of Bakura. That was not sustainable. Yeah, we've covered novels. We've covered Mando season 2, 3. Not 1, I don't think.
Did we not? I think we did.
Maybe we did. But as it's been releasing, we've been covering it. Lots of content to get caught up to, ad free. You can send us your emails. We'll probably do an email section at the end of next video. Yeah, you can leave. I don't know if you can leave multiple Apple reviews, but you can leave them on different platforms as well. But we do this completely for free. Actually, we lose money because of the hosting, but we actually made some tonight. So thanks everybody. But
There you go.
I think Corey's gonna play a song. So go ahead, Corey.
I was playing a song, but I don't think it was getting picked up.
No, it wasn't at all.
Okay, well, that's the problem with electric guitars when they're not plugged in.
There you go. All right. Good night, everybody.
Probably the noise cancellation. Anyway, bye.
Bye. I'm gonna leave Corey, and we'll chat for a couple more minutes before we go. Answer a couple questions if you guys have them. I think I got all the donations. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one from Nissus. Operation Cinder show, all from Bill Burr's point of view. I love an Operation Cinder show. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, go check out Night Doc, some of the best content on YouTube. I gotta get you to make me a video, Night Docs, like that Elden Ring one. That'd be an awesome. But yeah, I think we're gonna end the. Oh, he's coming back. I was just saying, I think we're about to end it. I was trying to say goodbye to my viewers for a second, Corey.
You're in my recording channel.
Okay, goodbye for real, everybody. Drop a like, for real. Drop a like. Bye-bye.